This is Dungeon-thrasher Lenny Blade, and this is the Dungeons and Thrashers show. And today, this episode, I'd like to discuss Middle-earth in tabletop role-playing games. Yes, again. I did a video a couple of weeks, maybe months back now, about my appreciation for Tolkien in general and all his work and all that good stuff. But today I'd like to focus on Middle-earth as a role-playing game setting, and that will be a lead up to a new series of videos where I will do an overview and review of Cubicle 7's Dead product line adventures in Middle-earth. Because what better way to expand your YouTube channel than doing reviews of a Dead product line? So yeah, Middle-earth. For many people, I think, even including myself, Middle-earth is like the Rolls-Royce of fantasy worlds, of fantasy settings, for a good reason. It is it's extremely detailed, and it has so much going for it, and it's also so explored and unexplored at the same time, and I think that's very unique. You know what I mean? Like, well, first of all, there are many different time periods where you can go adventuring in, and since it is explored in a way that there are many different locations and characters and events and things like that, there are also different timelines, and it's also unexplored. Like, Tolkien left a lot of blanks for you to fill in on your adventures, so I think that's pretty cool. That's definitely one of the things that I think appeals the most. But yeah, I remember even like when I started playing tabletop role-playing games, mid-80s, we were playing, I grew up in Sweden, right? So we were playing the Swedish equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons called Drakar och Demoner. Swedish people, stop typing now. I said Swedish equivalent, not version, I know. Actually, it's more akin to RuneQuest. Yeah, but so that's what we played, and it was sort of understood when we were kids. It was sort of understood that we were in Middle-earth, even though maybe we never exactly like went. We didn't go to Moria, we didn't go to Lothlorien and all that good stuff, but sometimes you would have a name drop, things like that. But it was because our reference points for fantasy were The Hobbit, the book, because none of us had read Lord of the Rings yet, because it's kind of a hard read for a kid. And the Bashki movie, or Bashki movie from the 70s animated movie. And those were our reference points for fantasy. So when you play a fantasy role-playing game, it was sort of understood that we were in Middle-earth, even though we technically weren't. So yeah, my brother had he had a book where he wrote down magical items, and I remember he had the short sword of Isildur, you know, and sometimes you would name drop things like, oh, he has been to Moria, or he used to travel with Gimli, things like that. But even though we would never actually, as far as I remember, actually go to these places, we never went to Minas Tirith or all that. And then when we got into our teens and we were a little bit older, we started branching out, and we started playing other Swedish games, and we started playing some international games. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the Swedish stuff, because it's just a small percentage of my viewers would know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to stick with the international or the English role-playing games. So we started playing Call of Cthulhu, Rolemaster, we did play RuneQuest, we even played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, I remember. 90 maybe, and a short campaign of that, and there were a couple other games we played as well. And then we started realizing that there are actually settings, like official settings and worlds where you are supposed to adventure in. So we sort of left Middle-earth behind and we started adventuring in Forgotten Realms or Glorantha or Erebaltor for Drakar Demoner. And then we found out that Iron Crown Enterprises, the guys who put out Rolemaster, they also had a Middle-earth setting for Rolemaster. Actually, it was more than a setting, it was its own game. And it was a good system too. So, and just to emphasize how huge fantasy in general, but Tolkien in particular, was in Sweden, we actually had a direct translation of MERP into Swedish. So that was great for us, especially, like young teenagers. We could get the rules in Swedish, and then you could just import all the English language stuff. And obviously with almost zero, conversion. So you could just play that. And it was a good system, it was a lot of fun. And we played it a lot. What we didn't realize at the time was that we did sort of fade out of it a little bit, just because it started to blend together with like any generic high fantasy setting. And at the time we didn't realize why, And now looking back, Lord knows that ICE really milked that license, because they were churning out stuff. I shouldn't say churning, that sounds like it wasn't high quality. It really was. Artwork, writing, everything was high quality, but they were putting out so much stuff, and they started filling in so many of Tolkien's blanks that he left. They were sort of like the David Day of Middle-earth role-playing, because they filled in so many blanks. They took a lot of liberties with the license, and they broke canon a couple of times. And you also had the character classes. You had spellcasters, you had casting classes, active magic, and you had magical, instantaneous healing magic and things like that. That is not what Middle-earth is about. But we enjoyed it. We didn't realize that, But now looking back, yeah, it definitely lacked a lot of the atmosphere and feeling of Middle-earth. And then, so we sort of left that, and then we got into even other stuff. I remember we started playing that Twilight 2000, and we had I had a lot of BattleTech stuff, and no one wanted to play with me. I also had Necromunda, that no one wanted to play with me. That was later on, though, a lot later. But yes, we started playing other stuff, and then I'm going to talk about my history of playing role-playing games, maybe in another video. I'm just going to focus on Middle-earth here. After the Peter Jackson movies, there was another company, I don't know who, because I'm the Dungeon-thrasher / lo-fi thrasher. I don't do research. I should have done that before I hit record, but I never do. So there was another company that got the license, and they made a game called the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, I think, after the Peter Jackson movies, and they used the artwork from the movies, like still shots from the movies, and it wasn't, I don't know, I mean, I've never read it, but, so I'm not going to comment on it anymore. And then the license went to Cubicle 7, and they made a role-playing game called The One Ring, which was very popular. I haven't played it myself, but I've read it, and I've seen YouTube videos of it being played. I thought that it was extremely narrative and completely like Tolkien feeling and atmosphere and all that good stuff, but I felt that it was a little bit too simple for my liking, so I passed on it. And then I'm going to talk about this later on when I get into Adventures in Middle-earth, the individual videos later, but I stumbled across Adventures in Middle-earth by accident, basically. And it was pretty cool because then it's based on D&D 5th edition. Now, whether you like or don't like that system, it's very adaptable, and I played it using, you know, the basic rules. I went to WotC's Wizards of the Coast's website, and I downloaded and printed the basic rules, and I just used that together with the Adventures in Middle-earth Player's Guide, which was the first book I had, obviously. So, yeah, and I just did that, and anything that I needed a ruling for, I just made it up myself. I took a little note, and that was it. And I've played it now for years. so yeah, Adventures in Middle-earth was great. And in the coming videos, I'm going to go more into each release of the Adventures in Middle-earth product line from Cubicle 7. Now, Cubicle 7 lost the license for whatever reason. There's lots of speculation out there, but I'm not going there. And now the license has gone to a Swedish company called Fria Ligan, or Free League. And they have promised that they will put out the One Ring 2nd edition. And after that, they're going to put out Adventures in Middle-earth 5th edition. Now, they have been very, very vague about what the Adventures in Middle-earth 5th edition, you know, is going to be, as far as, you know, what they are going to release. Are they going to continue? Are they going to rewrite everything? Are they going to, you know, change a lot of the rules? You know, I would prefer if they just kept, because I know some of the development team went with them. So they'll be working on the new Adventures in Middle-earth as well. So that's boding well. The yeah, so what was I talking about? This one here. Yeah, so that sounds interesting. I'm hoping that they will continue in exactly the same way, and the books will look exactly the same and use the same kind of artwork and the same, you know, spines and the same layout of the book, so you could just, you know, it would seamlessly flow into the old Cubicle 7 line, with only changing, obviously, the Cubicle 7 logo for the Free League logo. That's what I'm hoping for, but I don't think that'll be the case. We'll see, we just have to wait and see. But until then, I'm going to give you an overview of the Adventures in Middle-earth product line that you all wanted, right? See you next time!